video is sponsored by Squarespace. My name is Serina, and I have a seed shopping addiction. The problem's gotten so bad that I'm now storing my seeds in carts. That's my flower one, and this is my veggie one. But when I was looking through my flower cart for the upcoming 2023 growing season, I noticed there was like a little bit of a gap or a hole here. So I did a big Johnny's seed shop. I ended up spending $1,000, and I'm gonna share all of the seeds and all of the details about why I bought them in this seed unboxing video. Now, in defense of myself, I own a farm. Here on Red Roof Family Farm, we're heading into our 5th growing season. In the past, we have grown veggies and flowers, but last year we made a big pivot to only flowers, and it was an incredible success, which means we're going hard on flowers yet again for this upcoming season. We are going to be growing flowers even better. We are going to be growing flowers even more efficiently. We are going to be growing even fancier flowers. I am really excited for what we're gonna do on the farm this year. And in order to do all those things, it means I need to buy a little bit of seed. Last year, I did a massive seed shop for flowers, and most of the flowers that I'm going to be growing this year are with seed that I had purchased the year before. But as I went through, there was a few new things, and there was a few things that I used up the seed. So it meant I had to buy a little bit more. I've already done an unboxing on one of my biggest orders, which was from Ball Seeds, and I'll share the link to the video up there if you want to check out what I bought. But they didn't have everything I needed, and so Johnny Seeds. I really love Johnny Seeds as a seed shopping source. Johnny Seeds is an excellent education source as well too. They have really easy to sort and to understand instructions on how to grow everything. I also love about Johnny's that they have a very focused seed selection. They don't have a million different things. They just have what you want. Because of that, some of their seed might seem a little bit more expensive. They have stuff that, you know, is worth the money in my opinion. They bring in the best varieties, and they're always bumping out varieties that they find better replacements for. Johnny Seeds is not trying to provide you with the cheapest seeds you can get. They're trying to provide you with the seed that is the most value. It may be more money, but it's gonna be worth the money. They were my favorite source for getting all the things I wanted to grow on my veggie farm. And as we've moved into flowers, they also are one of my favorite sources for flowers, because rather than being overwhelmed with a million options, they just provide me with all the essentials that I need on a cut flower farm. They're not gonna have weird, obscure, hard to grow perennials. They're just gonna have the best productivity, the most disease resistance, the things that you want to grow in order to make money. And they had some things that I couldn't find at Ball, which meant I was going back to shop with them again. This order isn't exceptionally large, and that is one of my only drawbacks to Johnny Seeds as a source for me. I'm Canadian, and because of that, I cannot take advantage of their amazing spend $200, get free shipping deal. Shipping for me ends up costing more than $100 Canadian. It's a $75 US shipping fee for me to get my seeds, and when that gets converted, it's quite expensive. So when I order from Johnny's, I make sure that I do it, in bulk, because as I said, this is a $1,000 order. 10% of the cost is just in getting it to me. 10% was taxes, 10% was shipping, and then the rest is on the seeds that I couldn't find at my other source. Let's get to the seeds. I've already this year spent $500 on zinnia seeds. And the reason is because I grow a lot of zinnias. My plan for this year on the farm is to have 1,600 zinnia plants, 4 whole beds. And that is gonna produce me a lot of zinnias. Zinnias end up being one of our, most exciting, most fun summer focal flowers in our bouquets. We have hot, dry weather here, and because of that, zinnias just thrive in a way that I haven't been able to find another focal flower that I love as much. So I am all in on zinnias. Here on the farm, because we are trying to maximize efficiency, we want to produce the most amount of flowers for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And one way that I found to really do that is by growing my flowers by color. So what that means is I'll have, instead of a mixed variety that has 6 colors blended all in together, I will buy 6 packs of zinnia seeds and grow, 6 blocks of color. When I come out to the field to pick my zinnias, I come with 6 buckets and I go, okay, first we're doing pink, and then we're doing orange, and then we're doing yellow. And by doing that, my flowers are sorted, which makes it a lot easier for me to handle them when I go to make bouquets, or to hopefully this year sell them to florists. So from ball seeds, I ended up buying 10 different colors and different types of zinnias, but I did not buy Benry's Giant White. Benry's Giant is my favorite variety of zinnia. I grow it because it has amazing disease resistance and the flowers are twice as big as any other zinnia variety. Like I said, we're growing zinnias as a focal flower. We want them big, we want them punchy, we want them taking a lot of real estate in our bouquets. I did not buy white. I don't know if I didn't buy white because it wasn't there or I just wasn't thinking of it. I do not like white. White sells really poorly for me. We are selling mostly market bouquets. We sell down at our farmer's market, we sell at our roadside stand, and the market bouquet customer is just a little bit different than some of your other flower customers. Anytime I send down white to the market, it comes home. I love an all white bouquet. All of you watch my videos, tell me you love the all white bouquets, but when you put them beside the bright and cheery rainbow bouquets that we do, they just don't end up getting taken home. I say they're always the bridesmaid, never the bride, always the second favorite, but they just end up not selling very well. Because of that, I don't grow a lot of white. The other problem with white flowers is they show damage in a way that other colors do not, right? If there's some bugs biting on them, leaving some brown marks, it's gonna be really, really obvious on white flowers. The other thing about white flowers, which I don't really understand exactly why it's this way, but they actually tend to have higher pest pressure than other colored flowers. There's something about white that draws the bugs in. And I don't know, like, it's true, right? Like I can literally look at them side by side. Part of it is you see the bugs more, but they do get more attacked by bugs, I found. So why did I buy this pack of white zinnias? The reason why I bought this pack of white zinnias, even though I have a whole list of reasons that I do not grow white, is this year we're hoping to sell to more florists. And the one thing that florists always want is white, because they're stuck doing like wedding work, they're stuck doing like really traditional work, places where people are being more conservative about their flower decisions. And so white is a staple, white is a bestseller to florists. Florists don't always, like traditional florists don't like working with zinnias. One of the things about zinnias is they can be damaged by being stored in the cooler. Most flowers, you stick them in the cooler, it extends their vase life, it allows you to have more time before you need to get those flowers into the customer's hands to be able to, still have time to enjoy them in their homes. Because of that, you can't mix some zinnias into a bouquet, put it in the cooler, and then be guaranteed that it's not going to have damage. You can if you're adjusting your cooler to just a little bit warmer temperature, but a lot of florists are nervous about working with zinnias. But despite that, I got this pack we're gonna give it a try. Maybe florists are gonna want these white zinnias, and at very least it'll give me something white to offer them in the summer to, you know, when they come by and they're like, I need a white, I have a wedding and all of my focals didn't show up. I'll have them covered. The other variety of zinnia that I love because it is so unique and the colors are sophisticated in a way that's different from the bright, punchy colors that are in the Bennery's Giant is the Lime Queen or Queenie series of zinnias. The flowers are smaller, but you can't find these colors anywhere else, and they're incredible. I love them. When I went to order from Ball, they were sold out of a couple colors, so I had to get them. I need to grow these every year. I do like a bed, maybe a bed and a half is my plan for this coming up year. And honestly, for me personally, I'm happy to just go pick a bunch of only these and have that be my bouquet. I love them. So I'd already gotten the orange colors, but I had to get the Queen Lime Red. This, you know, beautiful, dusty antique tones to it. I love this. And then also the Queen Lime Blush. This is green with some pinker notes. It blends really nicely with the other Queen series, as well as, you know, going with almost everything. I really love anything in these Queen series, but be aware, like I said, the flowers are smaller and they don't have the same disease resistance. And then I have the seed packet that made it so I had to do a shop with Johnny Seeds this year, no matter what, because Ian would have murdered me if I didn't buy these. These are stupidly expensive zinnias that make me grumpy, but made me thousands and thousands of dollars last year. These are Zowie Yellow Flame, and these sold bouquets. They were not as big as the Bennery's Giant. The flowers were smaller. They were not as productive and prolific as the Bennery's Giant. They started blooming too short for me to be able to use the stems. They bloomed really early. They bloomed early and fast, but it took, you know, quite a while after they bloomed until I could finally get stems long enough that I could use them in bouquets. But despite that, the look of these are just incredible. With the mix of the red and yellows, and then just the fullness of the flower. Even though I didn't necessarily sell thousands of dollars in these because I only had about, I don't know, like 70 plants. So I couldn't have possibly picked enough stems to do that. But they made it so I could take 3 of these flowers, mix it in with some marigolds, mix it in with some Rudbeckia, which wouldn't necessarily sell on its own. And then all of a sudden it became my best-selling bouquet. I ended up making a set recipe with these for a bouquet that I started making in the middle of summer, you know, let's say like August, and I made it until we shut the farm down. And every week it was consistently the best seller. 3 months of selling the same bouquet is very strange. So it means that these were very, very desirable. So I had to buy them. I ended up getting a 250 pack because I'm gonna do a lot of them this year now that I know, you know, that they do so much for me. I'm very excited to have it. Next up, we have Snapdragons. And I spent a lot of time in my last unboxing going over Snapdragons. Snapdragons are kind of complicated. You can get them to bloom at different times depending on the variety that you grow. And I went over that in a lot of detail, so I don't want to be repeating myself in this video. But instead what I want to focus on is why I had to buy Snapdragons from Johnny's after I'd already done this massive Snapdragon shop at Ball. And the reason is the Costa series. This was an order of Costa Snapdragons because they didn't have it available from Ball Seeds. I don't know why. These Costas are incredible. Costa is my favorite early blooming Snapdragon. I found it has really amazing cold tolerance. I'm gonna start these like as soon as I finish this video. And I'm going to be planning on planting them out into my greenhouse in March. These are going to get planted out really early, and they're going to be blooming really early for me. You know, these I'll be picking from in early May, you know, kind of into June. The Costa last year, it was our first time experimenting with it. Previously, I had been growing Chantilly, which is like a frilly Snapdragon, to be my earliest Snapdragon, but the Costa has the more traditional Snapdragon look, which I prefer. So I was like, you know what? We're going for it. We're trying a bunch of these, and I experimented with a few colors, and oh, man, they're so good. First, I'll start with the boring pack that I got. I have 1,000 of the Costa mix. I want to do the mix because I don't necessarily want to buy all the colors, but I want to have some of all the colors. There tends to be a lot of yellow, I find, in mixes. There's only so much yellow I want, but I do want yellow. The other nice thing about the mix and Snapdragons is Snapdragons are gorgeous. You know, the more I grow them, the more I fall in love with them. They smell incredible. You don't realize how good Snapdragons smell until you like walk into like a greenhouse blooming of them. They have this like sweet bubblegum kind of scent to them. They're really, really pleasant. They're not an overwhelming floral scent in the way like a lily can be. It's just really, really nice. And the scent is there enough that when you have a bunch of Snapdragons, you can actually enjoy it like in your home. It's subtle, but there. So I love them for that. And then, you know, just a mix of them. There's stems, right? If you get like a bunch of like 20, like they look gorgeous. So last year we were overwhelmed with Snapdragons. I had more than I knew what to do with. And so I ended up doing bunches of just Snapdragons. And they, even though they didn't sell as well as the mixed bouquets, they sold well enough that considering the labor of just putting together the bunches, it made a lot of sense to keep doing it, especially because the Costa Snapdragons tend to bloom in this window for me when things are a little limited. In the spring, we have tulips, and then we have ranunculus and anemones. We have this like really, really strong with these beautiful flowers that really brings in the customers. But then it kind of has this lull before the perennials that bloom in the early summer kind of pick up. And then sometimes those can be a little boring for customers too, before the summer blooming annuals that come on like in the height of summer really kick into gear, like the zinnias. So I've found that having a lot of Snapdragons for that in-between window, which is the Costa, provides me the ability to make some more formal bouquets and something that looks quite different from these perennial early summer bouquets. So I really like having a lot of Snapdragons, and I'm excited to be able to see if I can increase my sales on mixed, just Snapdragon mixed bunches this year. But had to get the colors. And so the color that I got that from last year like blew my mind. I call this butter popcorn because it looks, you know, like with the way the Snapdragon heads are, they look like popcorn kernels, and then it was this warm coloring. These are amazing. Anyways, the name of it is Costa Apricot, and I got 1,000 pack of this because I want 1,000 of these. They're so incredible. And they went with everything. They kind of blended really nicely with some of my softer toned ranunculus that I have later on when these first come on. They blended really nicely with the perennials. They blended really nicely with the brights, even though they're more of like a pastel tone. And I think for how much I loved them, that florists might love them too. So I'm excited to see how many of these we can sell. Another color that I really, really loved from the mix last year is Costa Lavender, and I got a 500 pack of this. This is just, it was a really, really pretty color. It was like a pinky purple that was quite soft, but still punchy enough to not be, you know, like it wasn't like a little bit of purple. This was like a purple flower. So I love the brights, but I also know that in that earlier window, the more pastel-y brights do really well for me. So having a whole pack of this is exciting. And then, because I'm trying to sell to more florists this year, I got Costa Silver, which is this just beautiful blush color. I'm really excited to see what this is going to look like in person. I find that these kind of color tones are hard to judge from pictures. The coloring can be really affected by the daylight that you get on, your specific farm or garden. We have really strong sun. We're up here in Canada, so, by the time we hit solstice, we're having a crazy amount of daylight hours. We are not cloudy at all. We are pure sun, so we get this really bright, unfiltered UV that's coming in onto the flowers for a long, long time. And so because of that, the colors change quite a bit for me versus what they would look like for someone else grown in shady, cloudy, cooler conditions. So I'm always excited to experiment and see if I can still get them blush enough. The other thing too is I like to grow snapdragons in a greenhouse. We have we have 4. We have 3 high tunnels up this year, and I'm going to prioritize 2 beds worth of space for snapdragons. The snapdragons just get longer stems, they get taller stems, and then the most important thing about what my high tunnels do for me is they hold shade cloth. Last year we invested into shade cloth. Providing shade to flowers is even more important to me than providing extra warmth to flowers, because it like I said, yet again, even longer stems. The colors are more of these softer colors that I just can't achieve with my bright, strong sun. So yeah, I'm excited to see that. And then I also bought Potomac Royal. Potomac is my favorite summer blooming snapdragon. And when I bought most of my Potomacs from Ball, they were sold out of Royal. Royal I grew last year. It's a really deep, rich, dark, purpley pink, almost like a burgundy. And the color was really dramatic. We do a lot of these really bright colored bouquets, but I also want to have jewel tones. I think that jewel tones are going to be really strong with florists this year. So having, this jewel toned one, I wanted to get that in the mix. So I'm excited to start these. Next up, I have Cosmos. And Cosmos are another one that I went over in a lot of detail in my last unboxing. So again, I'm gonna stick to more why I got these varieties rather than everything I know about Cosmos in general, because Cosmos drive me crazy. I don't really like them, but I also like them at the same time. It's a love-hate thing. So I like to gripe about them, but I'm gonna hold myself back. One of the Cosmos that I've been growing for all the years of the farm, and I'm probably gonna grow it forever, even though I have reasons not to, is the Double Click series. And I have been growing the mix and the white, which is called Snow Puff. The white, super classic, super pretty, and I'm growing it again this year because I think it has a lot of potential as a florist flower. And then the mix is nice. It just gives me a little bit of, random Cosmos to work with. But the one thing I noticed last year working with the mix is that I was cherry picking out the rose bonbon color. And so I bought a 1,000 pack of just the rose bonbon on its own. This color is really unique. It's not a pink, it's not a purple, it's not bright, but it's not muted. It's just, it was doing things for me that I didn't have anything else that was doing the same thing. One of my favorite colors to work with is orange flowers. I have, I'm gonna grow 1,000,000 orange Bennery's Giant. I love orange marigolds. I bought 300 orange ranunculus. I tend to buy a lot of orange, and I buy orange not just because I'm being influenced by loving it, but it does really well. It's one of those colors that I wouldn't think people want, but the way I end up blending it with other brights makes it so that I feel that the way I use orange leads to us selling a lot more flowers. And the way that I use orange is maybe one of the things that differentiates me from the other like market flower growers in the area. I'm maybe doing weird things by using orange, but people are liking it, so I'm going with it. And so this rose bonbon ended up going really, really nicely with the orange in a way that I wouldn't have thought it would have. To me, it was kind of like a shocking combination that really like stood out for me. And so I'm committed to it. I'm making those bouquets again. I'm growing a patch of just this to make it a lot easier for me to pick and use it. And who knows, maybe this is going to be a color that is desirable to other people too. And then the other Cosmo varieties I got are all about me thinking about florists. So last year I did a single afternoon white and I loved it. It was really fun to work with. It had a lot of nice movement. It was clean, beautiful, big flowers. So I got a 500 pack of it. Yeah, I could have it I'm thinking probably like just a half bed of this afternoon white. It was really, really great. If at this point, if I had to pick only one Cosmo to grow, I'd maybe pick this. It was just really versatile. And it had great stem length. It produced a crazy amount of cuts every week. Very, very desirable Cosmo for me. And then I'm experimenting with a new one. I don't have very much white that I'm used to growing, so I was being open-minded to new whites, and so I got a 1,000 pack of fizzy white Cosmos. These, they're just a little bit different. I prefer the afternoon white, but this might be something that florists are looking for, and if I can have things that florists are looking for, then it means that I can start building those florist customers, which is like one of the biggest goals for this year. And then finally, I bought a 1,000 pack of Apricota Cosmo. The color is incredible. I'm sure that if I could get these to work the way I dreamed they would, that these would sell great in bouquets, these would sell great to florists. I'd be able to move a lot of these. I don't know though that they are going to be tall enough plants. I have never grown these myself. I've seen other people selling them as cut flowers, so I know the flowers are as beautiful as the pictures tell me they are. But I've heard a lot of people saying that the plants are just too short. They just don't produce in the way, the double click and the afternoon white do. And I already have so many reasons to not like Cosmos. If they're also not going to be giving me the stem length that I need, I'm not going to grow that variety. There's a million other things I can grow. So I'm excited to give a good experiment on it. I also bought another one of these like warm toned Cosmos from Ball, and so I'm going to be doing a side-by-side comparison, see maybe one's a little bit taller than the other, and hopefully I can find one that's going to work out really well. Next up, I have some Gomphrenias, and I hate Gomphrena. Gomphrena drives me crazy. I tried it for 2 years in a row after seeing another local flower farmer growing it and falling in love and needing to have it. The thing that I love about Gomphrena is that it looks like clover flowers. And the things that I hate about Gomphrena is that the stems are really brittle, they're really difficult to pick, they're, short, they're, when you do pick them, they're just a single ball on a stem. So the amount of labor that you have to put in versus the value of the flowers themselves is so low. I have like an entire list of why no Gomphrena. And so my solution was, well, Serina, if what you actually want is clover flowers, forget trying to grow this Gomphrena. You need to just grow clover. Well, like why aren't you growing clover if you want clover flowers? And so last year I grew a patch of crimson clover. It was everything that I wanted. And I got the clover hit that I needed. And so I didn't need to grow this. But here I am again with a whole new variety of Gompphrenas. So what's that about if I've decided not to grow it? And this is about dried flowers. We've been focusing in on dried flowers a lot the last couple of years. I'm surrounded everywhere that I look in this room. You can't see it on camera, but there's just mountains of dried flowers. And they've done really well. They've done shockingly well, I'd say. Dried flowers are getting very trendy. We have brides that in the summer are looking for dried flower weddings. I have a lot of dried flowers here, but I'm sure most of these I'm going to be able to sell like wholesale, either to DIY people or to florists. We sell dried bunches. They've been incredible for us for making a beautiful farm stand down at the farmer's market, because as our fresh bouquets sell, we're able to pull out dried flowers to keep our display full and beautiful, and they sell. I'd say every week we're selling, $100, $200 in dried flowers. And that really adds up, considering a lot of my dried flowers are, bunches that I hang up and dry. It's very, very simple for me to process them and then have them on hand for the entire year. But as we went and did a craft fair where I brought down a bunch of dried flowers as well as these dried flower Christmas ornaments that I've been making, I had to admit to myself that the dried flowers are getting out of control. There's a room worth of dried flowers, and it doesn't make sense. I'm putting a lot of labor into dried flowers and creating like workflow problems for me. I'm sitting here surrounded by all these dried flowers, needing to do something with them so I can seed start when this video is done. And it wasn't a problem when we did less dried flowers, but it's a problem now. And so what we're doing for this coming up year is we're going to be less focused on having a bunch of mixed dried flower bouquets. And we're going to be more focused in on the Christmas ornaments. The one problem with the Christmas ornaments is the opening to the Christmas ornament is this big, and so there's only very specific things that can go inside of the Christmas ornaments. And one of the things that fits really nicely inside the Christmas ornaments is smaller Gomphrenias, which I no longer have any. I still had a few hoarded that I've been using up, but they're all gone. My genius idea for how to get all the benefits of Gomphrena, because it's a gorgeous, gorgeous dried flower, without all the problems of Gomphrena, like their stupid little stems, is I am going to grow Gomphrena and then harvest it by just plucking the flower heads off. I'm not going to fuss with the stems. I'm just going to I'm going to pick the flowers, because I'm going to have to take the stems off of them anyways before I stuck them in my Christmas ball, and then I'm going to dry them just as the flower, have them ready to use that way. So I'm going to grow a small patch of Gomphrena, and I am never going to fuss with a single Gomphrena stem, because they're just going to stay on the plant. It's going to be a super ugly plant with like all these topped stems everywhere. Everyone's going to be like, what did you do to this plant? But it's going to work perfect for me. So the colors that I bought is the QIS Carmine, which this color is incredible. We can't actually show you how good this color looks, because this color is so saturated that it breaks the brain in my camera, and my camera can't properly translate how bright and beautiful this is. Even my eyes are like kind of like go cross-eyed looking at these Carmine Gompphrenas. They're beautiful, beautiful. And then I got Strawberry Fields Gomphrena. This has a really fun orange color in it, and so I like growing this just for some more of those brights, because that's my goal. My goal is the brightest ones, because Gomphrena has some really nice softer colors, some kind of like blushy pinks and stuff like that, and we're not doing that. We're doing the bright ones. And then finally I got QIS Formula Mix. I'm gonna grow a few of these, be able to just have a few more colors, because Gomphrena, I'm excited about it. I liked it. It just wasn't worth growing on my farm. So, being able to find out a way that it can become worth growing is fun, because then I'll get to look at it and I can show you guys in the videos too. Okay, and then we are into bits and pieces. These are like, individual things that I needed to fill in the gaps in seeds that I used up. So I have a 1/4 pound of Saponaria Pink Beauty, and this I love. I'm gonna spend a bit of time. I'm gonna tell you guys about this because this is cool. So beautiful, beautiful flower that blooms in spring. So this is like it loves the cool weather. It doesn't really like it when it gets hot, which it does for me. What this looks like is like an annual baby's breath, a Covent Garden, which makes a really great filler. But then it's pink, which is fun. And then Covent Garden needs some warmer weather. I can't actually seed that out until we're past the frost. So this is what I grow. This is in succession with my Covent Garden. I consider this my baby's breath. This is my spring baby's breath, and then I have my summer baby's breath. So this year I'm going to probably be doing 2 small plantings of it so that I can have it for that 1 month window before my Covent Garden will come on. And I really loved it because I had it last year at the same time that I had my pink ranunculus. I was doing these beautiful, beautiful, very feminine, very romantic bouquets that were pink and white ranunculus, just these big beautiful blooms, and then these like small speckled pink blossoms like mixed in with it. I loved it. So I'm excited. You know, I bought a lot of seed. This is a huge pack. And the reason why I bought so much seed is because I direct seed this. And when I do that, it uses a lot of seed, but it saves me so much time. So nice big pack of this. This will probably last me for a couple of years though. Next up for spring, I have Orlea White Finch. And I grew this for the first time last year. I had a patch of it that I started as transplants that I planted really early into my greenhouse. And then I also direct seeded a small patch of it a little bit later to have a succession. The transplanted ones in the greenhouse ended up producing for me for like a month and a half. I like picked off these like crazy. They sent up so many side shoots off of it, and they just went and went and went. Whereas the ones that I direct seeded into the farm, they ended up kind of struggling and they had some pest issues. I forget what the bug was, but I had a bug that kind of decimated it and it never really did much. And so I didn't end up picking off of it at all. So I don't know if it's that having it as a transplant just made it a little bit stronger. I don't know if it's that it needed to actually be planted quite early. It prefers more cool weather than I gave that my second succession that was direct seeded. So I'm going to do a little bit of experimenting with this, but this was really valuable. It reminded me of Queen Anne's lace, but then the heads were smaller. So it was just a little bit more delicate for putting into bouquets, because sometimes those Queen Anne's lace heads can be so big that they just overwhelm the look of something that I'm creating. And then they also had that, look that was formal enough that it was the type of thing that would sell really well to florists. So I'm going to do a bunch of this, experiment with successions and see how it goes. And so I needed more seed. Next up for spring, I have Magic Single Feverfew Matricaria. And this I love. This is just the classic Feverfew. It looks like the perfect little cottagey flower daisy cluster, but it's very productive. It's a really great cut. I find on these I get 4 really strong stems. Maybe I'll cut out the first big center stem and then it'll shoot 6 sometimes smaller stems, but I get a lot of cuts that are very usable for me off of these specific Feverfew plants, and they go with everything. So for me, easy to do, multiple beds of Feverfew and just use it. Like in my early summer bouquets, I use 3 stems of Feverfew in every single bouquet. And then I imagine that I'll be able to sell hundreds of stems of this also to florists. I already had all of my Rudbeckia that I need. This year I'm planning on only growing Indian summer. I grew a bunch of other ones and I'm like, nope, not doing it anymore. Only Indian summer, and I have lots of seed for that. But I really like this Rudbeckia trilobia that Johnny Seeds has. And this is like a mini spray version of a Rudbeckia. So it's like a cluster of these like small yellow flowers, and they kind of do this like poof of like just covered with flowers. So they're the type of thing that I find is really nice to use as the structure on a summer bouquet, because I can put one stem in and then kind of slot the other flowers in around it, and then it just gives this like sparkle of pretty little yellow flowers. Other people talk about this as being a total weed, the type of thing that you grow once and you can never get rid of it. Whereas for me, I really struggle with growing this. Maybe I just need to like create a patch that self-seeds. Maybe I've been picking too much, so it never self-seeds. But I struggle to grow this as transplants. I get really bad germination on it. And then the transplants, they tend to be weak, the ones that I do grow. So it takes a lot for me to get enough that I can use them in my bouquets. So every year it feels like, so this is 1,000 pack. It feels like every year I buy another 1,000 pack thinking that'll be more than enough. And then like I mess something up and I use way more of the seed than I expected. So I got another pack of this just to have me covered. I do have like a half pack, but you know, if I mess it up and I kill them all, then I still have enough time to get catched up and do another one. Okay, another thing that I've been trying for the last few years and failing at, but this is gonna be the year, Sweet Annie. This is another one of those things. People, exactly as the trilobia, people say that this is just a nasty weed. They can't get rid of it. And I don't know, we're so dry here. Nothing grows here without water, like nothing, like grass dies here in the summer. So everything needs to be irrigated. Maybe this just needs more moisture than you know what I've been providing. But yeah, I've been struggling with growing good, strong transplants for this. And then I also haven't really been able to get it to grow from direct seed either. So I've been having a few plants every year on it. But yeah, the first year I grew Sweet Annie, because it's supposed to be a weed, it's supposed to be a nasty weed. The first year I grew it, it got some sort of disease that like took the plant out before I could really harvest much of it. The next year I had issues with my transplants. I only was able to have a couple plants planted, so I only, you know, could pick on it really lightly. I love the smell of it. That's why it's called Sweet Annie. It has, I don't know, it's hard to describe. It's not sweet like the way flowers can be sweet. It's just, it's herbal sweetness, you know, like almost when people talk about like the smell of like, oh, fresh, like cut hay having like a sweetness, that kind of is like what the Sweet Annie has. And it holds its scent really nicely as a dried. I have like a bucket of Sweet Annie from the first year that I grew it, and it's been hanging out in this building, and I brush by it and it still is like, oh, it reminds me of summer smell every time I brush by it, and the scent gets released. But yeah, these plants, they're supposed to get like 12 feet tall. They get massive. So I'm going to keep at it. This great filler, fresh or dried. And it comes on probably for me like later summer, when maybe I'm getting bored of some of my other fillers. Like I use a lot of basil. Usually by late summer, you know, my basil isn't looking as great. So it's nice to kind of switch things up. So we're giving this one another try. I know the problem is me, not the seeds. Okay, next up is grasses. I made like so much money on grass last year. It was like crazy. I did a single bed of grass, and I figure if I would have actually been able to sell all of them, which I didn't, there could have been like thousands of dollars in that single bed of grass. And even as it is, I probably made $2,000 in actual money off of just that one bed of grass. And it was like, I took the cedar out, I direct seeded it. I don't even know that I weeded it. The grasses grew so fast. But yeah, and I imagine that these like grasses are the type of thing that would be desirable for florists. You know, the type of thing that maybe they're not able to get from a wholesaler, but they add a lot to bouquets. So I have a bunch of seed. You know, in hindsight, when I opened the pack, I was like, what was I doing? I should have bought more grass. I should be buying this. I need to be buying my grasses in like this size pack. Because it would be smart for me to be succession planting. The grass kind of all comes on at its prime in like a 2-3 week window. So ideally I should be planting grass every 2 weeks to always have some. But okay, so the variety I got is 1,000 pack of Highlander. Like I said, in hindsight, I should have bought like 10,000 of these. And this I really love. The look of it is really nice. Sometimes I worry about grass heads like this, that they're going to be too big, that they're going to be this like massive piece. And like with a grass seed head, you want it not overwhelming the bouquet, but large enough that it is catching the eye. And the Highlander is really nice for that. I also grow Lowlander. I just had more seeds of it. And honestly, I can't tell the difference between the Highlander and the Lowlander. They're supposed to look quite different, but when I grow it, and maybe it's because of the window in which I'm picking it, maybe when they mature, they're more different. Because I know when I think back to some of the grass that I didn't pick at the early stage where I liked the best, I had one that one that matured into a richer, darker color, and then one that matured into more of like a lighter tan. So there might be a difference there between the Highlander and the Lowlander. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if maybe I'm getting my seed mixed up and that's part of the confusion, but I don't see much difference between them. And then I got 1,000 pack of green drops. This one's super cool. This one is, it's like a fiber optics plant, or like a fiber optics thing. You know, like those like fiber optics where they come and then they hang down. Except for then on the end of all the like little like the fiber optics like strings, there's like a little ball. So the little ball is super important, right? Because it actually weighs it down and it gives this this droop, but it creates this really beautiful fan. And then it's softer. It's softer than a lot of the other grasses that I grow. Cause like one of the main ones I'm doing is lime millet. You know, so it's quite textured, you know, same as like the Highlander and the Lowlander. So the green drops, it's really pretty, really formal, and less structural than some of the other grasses that I grow. Okay, and then I have a pack of Copper Plume Atriplex. This is a 5,000 pack. I grew this for the first time last year and loved it. These were incredible. They create this like really cool, you grow this not for the flower, but for like the seeded stem. You know, this is kind of in the category like grasses, like textured bits that add a lot to your bouquets that you don't necessarily realize are there or how important they are until you don't have them. So I'm gonna have lots of those. So the Atriplex, just really, really gorgeous. It grew really easily. I direct seeded it. And so it ended up being like, I had it really tight. So it did a single stem, made it really easy for me to pick. And the copper was this really cool, dusty color. It almost like had like gray tones to it. So I've also bought a red Atriplex and a green Atriplex from Ball, but they didn't have the copper and I had to have the copper again. I blended this with, you know, some of my more different colored flowers. I blended it with my browns, I blended it with my grays, and it created a really, really different look. And so I'm excited to see what I can do with it again this year. And I think there's a chance florists might be excited about this too. And then I'm obsessed with Amaranth. I go off about Amaranth being my favorite all the time. I love it. I make a lot of money on Amaranth too. It's very, very simple to grow. It's the same as the grass where I just plant it out, you know, creates like 10,000 stems in a single bed, and it's very versatile. You can use it with everything. So I have mostly massive packs of it, and And so I didn't really need any amaranth this year. The main colors that I've been growing and loving are Hot Biscuit, which is this beautiful brown tan color. And then I've been doing Coral Fountain, which is a pink weeping style. And then I have like a red and a green weeping style amaranth. But I'm getting a little bit low on my red upright amaranth, and so I bought a pack of Velvet Curtain. I really like it because it has dark leaves and dark flower head. There are some of the red amaranths that have the green leaves and then the red flower head, but I like the all dark because I use it a lot in the fall. Like that's why brown and then these burgundies are so important to me. As we go into the fall, darker colored bouquets, like more into the fall like palette that you think, like browns and like falling leaves type colors, those tend to sell a lot better. So having those darker, more dramatic colors to work with as my bits and pieces is important. So a little bit different. Coral Fountain, that's what I want in the summer for the amaranth, something a little bit lighter and brighter, but for the fall, definitely the Velvet Curtain is gorgeous. And then I have some more perennial type stuff. This is in the category things I need to start soon. Okay, so I have a 1,000 pack of Echinops Rit Row. And this is stupid. I don't need 1,000 Echinops seeds. I ended up buying this because they were completely sold out. This was the largest pack size that they sold. I wanted 500 seeds, but that size was sold out. So I just bought this because I want it rather than waiting. And I can always like pass off the leftover seeds. But what this is those beautiful little balls. They are amazing fresh, they're amazing dried, and they're really desirable. And I would normally not buy seed for this. Normally how I would get this plant is I would buy plugs. I would buy like a perennial plant. I'd let someone else buy the seed, grow it for a year, and then sell it to me. Because buying wholesale, I can actually get these for a really, really affordable price. But the last couple of years, I've gone to order more because I have 25 Echinops plants and it's not enough. I want about 200 of them. But yeah, when I go to order more, they're sold out. And then I'm like, okay, next year. And I went to order more and sold out. And so I was like, you know what? It'll take me a year to get them to the point, but at least I can for sure get them, because who knows, maybe they're going to be sold out again next year. Last year I did this for sea holly. I've been trying to get my hands onto some more sea holly, which is the same kind of idea. These like spiky, beautiful, use them fresh or use them dried flowers, and I just couldn't get it, so I ended up buying the Glitter series seed, and I grew out and planted an entire bed of the sea holly. So now, this coming year, I'm going to be able to pick off of it. And so I have space in my seedling production to throw in like a tray for this. I don't have enough space to be able to grow all the perennials that I'd want on my farm, but every year I can grow a bed or two's worth, So this year, this is the year of the Echinops. The other one that I have, and these are supposed to be annuals. I thought they were perennials, but they are Campanula. And it's Champion Lavender. I got 100 seeds of that and 100 seeds of Champion White. And these I've been resistant to growing. At our farmer's market that we sell at, there's a few other flower farmers who are selling down there, and the main one complements us really nicely because of the fact that we grow completely different flowers and our bouquets look completely different. So even though, like, you know, right behind me is another flower farm, it doesn't really affect my sales at all. And I don't necessarily think that I'm affecting his sales either. We end up doing like ranunculus and anemones. We do this, you know, different look in the late spring, whereas he has a bunch of the campanula, and he has like, his stuff is like more of the like the cottage look, which, you know, they're very beautiful. You know, and so for me, rather than growing a campanula, I've been growing like a Snapdragon. It's more of that structured look that I like. But, you know, I've heard really good things about the campanula. I know that I can get perennial versions of it, something that I just, you know, pick off of. This is an annual. This is a first year flowering annual, and these flowers are supposed to be a little bit more formal. The perennial campanulas are more like they're gonna have a few flowers up at the top, whereas this is more like a Snapdragon. It's just like a whole stem of like really beautiful flowers. You know, and as we sell to more florists, you know, this is something that maybe they're going to be looking for, especially in these like colors, in this like lavender and white. So this I got to experiment with. You know, 200 is not very much for me. That's, you know, like half a bed. So this is a good amount for me to give it a try. See how I enjoy working with it in designing bouquets, see if florists want to buy it, if, you know, people are like, oh, I want that for wedding work, you know, and then see how we go. But I definitely, you know, I don't want to grow just this because I want to differentiate myself from, you know, my neighbor down at the farmer's market. This one's a weird one. It's a veggie, but it's for a flower. Cardoon Porto Spineless. So I grew this last year. I gave a whole bed to them, and I like the cardoon because where I am is too cold for artichokes, but the cardoon blooms like an artichoke flower. And an artichoke flower basically looks like the biggest thistle you've ever seen. They're incredible and they're gorgeous and I love them. But I don't think they make me money. You know, like each cardoon plant is like one flower. And like, you know, I've had 50 cardoons into the bed. The plants just get massive. You know, like I said, I sold thousands of dollars worth of a single bed of grass, and I could have made thousands more. You know, I can't have 50 flowers coming out of a single bed. But I really liked it. And I suspect they're going to die. I suspect they're not going to make it for the winter. So I bought this because I would like to have a few more of them for myself. And I also am interested in experimenting because the leaf was really beautiful. So I think there's a chance that cardoon grown as foliage, especially as like a more formal wedding foliage, is a really good option for me on how to grow it to be able to make enough money to justify keep growing it. So I bought another pack. We'll see. I don't know. It might get bumped down the list. Maybe next year. I'll not grow it this year. I'll be like, I'm too busy. Won't grow it this year. And then I'll be like, oh, I missed it. I loved it so much. And then I'll grow an entire bed again next year. Okay, and then this stupid pack. So this is a 1/4 pound of sweet alyssum. And the reason why I have this, like no one needs a 1/4 pound of sweet alyssum, is I love sweet alyssum. It's beautiful. I love the smell of it. I like the pretty, you know, it looks like snow. It looks like just a scattering of beautiful snow around the farm. Sweet alyssum's quite drought tolerant too. It's not weedy at all for me. You know, it can self-seed. I do get it coming back, but it's like, it's something that I like having around the farm. So what I like to do, because I do tend to have a little bit of overspray on my irrigation for where my beds end, So I like to go and I like to like just have a little bit of sweet alyssum kind of around the edges of my farm. It's something that I just like looking at. Ian likes it because it makes like the videos look better. Ian's always like, oh yeah, the farm looks so good now. So every year I usually start a couple trays of sweet alyssum plugs. I do like these tiny little 200 plugs of them. And then when I have an hour, I like take them and I just go and I plant them everywhere that I can in hopes that I'll have like little patches of sweet alyssum. So I was finally out of my old sack of sweet alyssum. So it's time for a new sack to get me through for the next couple of years. Well, that took forever, but hopefully you guys got some interesting information out of that to apply to your own seed shopping and your own growing experience. I really like in these seed videos to be able to share, you know, all the learning that I bring to my seed shopping. Ian tells me that my seed shopping is one of my superpowers, and the only reason I feel that I'm able to successfully choose good varieties is that, you know, I'm kind of sitting here now with 20 years of growing experience under my belt. And so I know what I'm looking for when I go to those seed catalogs. You know, most of the stuff that we're growing, that I've shared with you, is stuff that I've already grown, you know, and I'm really excited to do even better with it this year. You know, it's hard when it's snowy out. I'm like looking out my window. It's snowy and it's cold, you know, needing to be bundled up all winter long. Getting to go through the seeds and imagining what the garden's going to be, getting to go through all of my pictures and videos from last year and imagine, you know, what the garden was too. You know, all these seeds just represent that hope for the new season. For my business, having seeds is important, but having sales is essential. And if I'm going to catch the eye of florists, I'm gonna need a website. Squarespace gives people a powerful and beautiful online platform from which to create your website. Connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated members-only content. Manage your members, send email communications, and leverage audience insights, all on one easy-to-use platform. Or create a community with their powerful blogging tools. Or use Squarespace extensions to manage inventory, promote products, and streamline bookkeeping. Or simply display posts from your social profiles. Honestly, the options feel limitless. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/youcaneatthegrass to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.